Hello everyone. So today we are going to dive into the one of the most important topic in Python, that is function. By this end of this video, I am going to teach you functions in Python in a very simplest way. So let's start with the definition. So we can see what is function here. So function is the group of statement. Remember, it's a group of statement which is performing a task, a specific task. Let's say when you combine two or three lines of a code that is performing a task can be your printing your 1 to 10, or let's say you are finding the even number, correct? So that is also be a task. So that is a function. Remember, so what is function? You can also think it's a piece of a code which is going to perform a specific task, correct? Now let's see, why should you use a function? Correct. Why should you use a function in your code? Remember, when you are writing 10 lines of a code, correct, versus whenever you are writing thousands lines of a code. Remember, when you write 10 lines of a code, so you can easily manage your 10 lines of a code. But when in your program you have 100 or over thousands lines of a code, so as a programmer, we are very stuck. We do not think which code is doing what. That is why we have to use a function in your code. So we can, as a programmer, we face difficult for a programmer, like how we can, like what is the problem we are facing, because if you have 10 lines of a code, we can easily manage, okay, this is a 10 line and this code is doing this. But if you have thousands lines of a code, so as a programmer, being a programmer is very difficult to manage all the thousands lines of a code. That is why you should use a function here. Okay, and while if you are using a function, so you are also implementing the dry principle. What is that dry principle? Is that do not repeat yourself, correct? Don't repeat yourself. Correct. Do not repeat yourself means don't use a single code again. Correct. Or in the another way you can say don't repeat the logic. Once you write the logic, use the same logic again and again. Correct. Don't need to write the logic again and again. That is why you should always use a function here. Okay. So when you use a function, so function can be reusable by the programmer in a given number of times. Correct. Let's say you just define a function, so you can use anywhere or any number of time. That will be fine here. Okay, so let's see how we can write a function in Python. Let's see what is the syntax of writing the function in Python. So see, we use def and func here. Like def is the keyword which we are using to write a function. So whenever you are going to define a function, so make sure you are using def. We write def here, correct, and the name of the function, whatever the, let's say, if you are, and remember, whenever you are writing the name of the function, so it should be in a snake case, correct, because when we write in a code in a Python, so when we define the variable name or the function name, so we always follow the snake case. I hope you remember or you know what is snake case. I know it sounds weird, but we use in Python. For example, let's say you want to write first name. So how you can write it? So just write first underscore name. See? So whenever we write the word, we write all in a lowercase. Just instead of writing space, what we write, we just write underscore. Correct? So this is a snake case. So whenever you want to write a function name, so we always write into a snake case. Let's say you want to write check prime. So we write def check underscore prime. See, this is my function, correct? This is how I define the name of the function. And then you can write what is the function is doing what, correct? That is the function body here, we define it, correct? Okay, now let me show you with the code so you will get better clarity. So just I'm going to make a folder on my desktop. Let's say make it function, and I'm going to open this folder into my VS Code which I already installed. So yes, okay, let's trust this author. Okay, now I'm going to create a new file. So just click here. I hope you know how to use a VS Code. Now functions.py. Okay, now let's create a very easy function. So we are going to just create a function that is, let's say, print greet, correct? So we are going to define a function just which is going to greet. So let's say how we can define, remember we use def, always we write def keyword is the keyword which we define. So Python know, okay, you are a user is programmer, or you can think is going to define a function. So we put def, then the name of the function. So let's say greet, remember the name should be in a snake case or it should be meaningful. Why it should be meaningful? Let's say you are writing this code, okay, but maybe when you work in a team, so you are writing in a team, you are writing code in a team. Let's say you have a multiple team members, so make sure while writing the code, your code should be meaningful, your variable name should be meaningful. Let's say if I write xyz here, so no one can understand what is this function xyz. So make sure, remember, writing the correct name or the meaningful name. So just I'm going to define def, and remember when you write the name of the function, it's here def, we after write the parenthesis, like the open parenthesis and the close parenthesis, and then after we put colon, and then we can whatever we want to say, whatever we want to group. So I want to group for now, let's say print hello how are you doing, correct? So this is code which I am going to see. So this is, we define the function here now. Okay, now whenever, okay, let's run the code, let's see. So python function, see, okay, I'm using terminal to run the code. I press Ctrl J to toggle this terminal, this is the shortcut. And now I just type function and the file name which I'm going to run, that is a function.py. But I can see we are not getting any output here, correct? If you can see here, we are not getting output in our terminal. You know why? Because once you define a function, so if you want to see the result of the function, so we need to always call a function. So how we call? Just by writing their name, and we put the parenthesis like the open parenthesis and the close parenthesis, that's all. Now let's run the code. So python function.py, we can see we are getting our output. Let's say I want to repeat this, I want to say I want to greet 5 times. So what I can do, I can just copy and paste it 5 times. So I will get 5 times. See, we are not repeating our logic. The very simple is logic for now, just printing how, and our we are greeting here hello how are you doing, and we are see we are repeating here 5 times, so we are getting 5 times output. But you know, whenever you want to call a function again, let's say you call a function 10 times, so it's not recommended to write the code and again. For that we can also use our loops here, correct? I hope you already know how to use a loops. Okay, so this is a very basic function. Let me break down this what we did here. Just one sec. So this is our name of the function, correct? Which is your greet here, correct? That is our function name here. Okay, and this is our function body, or you can say function definition as well. Like what is this function about, correct? And here we declare a function, that is our function. Here we initialize the function. That is your function initialization. And here we are just calling this function, that is your function calling. So we know whenever you want to see the result, so we need to call a function. Correct? Okay, hope you understand. If you face any doubt, please comment. So we see here, we also see how we can define a function. Okay, let me tell you what are the two different types of function we have. So, you know the part containing exact sets of instruction, we already know that is a function body, or you can say function definition. Correct? Like if we show here, so this is your function definition. Correct? Exact part, what when you call the functions, whatever the result you will get, that is in your function definition. Okay. Okay, now let's see. We have a types of function here. We have a two different types of function. One is your built-in function, which we already using from the day one. You know, we write print. Whenever you want to display an output, we always write print hello. Correct? So print is also a function here. See, print is also be a function, but print is your built-in function. What is built-in function here? Which is already present in Python. You don't need to define, it's already there in a Python. Just how we can call it by their name and by your parenthesis. Now we can see the another type, that is user defined function, which is defined by us, which is defined by user, like we are the user. And you know, just write down in your comment what are the different types of built-in function in Python. So we use print function. Most of the people you already use your len function, correct? And whenever you want to remove a list, we use your remove function as well. Yep. Okay. Hope you are understanding. If you feel any doubt, so please comment down. Okay, you know, like here our create is our user defined function, because this function is it's not there in a Python. We define as a user, we define this function. Okay, that is we call user defined function. So let's say you are calculating, let's say you want to make a function for check whether the number is prime or not. But we know this, we don't have any function like this in Python. It's a built-in function as a. So what we can do, we can define our own function that is called user defined function. Okay. Now let's dive down into your more in a function. So now after this, we know how to define a function. That will be nice. But you know, we have a function with your argument as well. What is this argument here? Correct? So when you know, as a function, we can also pass some value. When we define a function, let's say we define your def create, and now we are going to just here def create, and we can also pass some values. Correct? Like this is our value, we can pass it. Okay, what is called it, we called as a your parameter. Correct? Like whenever you pass some value while in this parenthesis, that we call as your parameter. Remember, we always call a parameter. Like most of the student confuse between what is parameter and what is argument. So remember, when you define this value here, that is a parameter. So while calling the function, so you need to pass this value, otherwise you will get an error. The error will say you did not define the required positional argument. Correct? So we need to pass this value. So that is called your argument. So I can pass, let's say, Rohan. Correct? So this is called your, just one sec. This is called your arguments. Correct? Hope you understand what is, like here it's mentioned here, just an example. Correct? Let me show you with the code so you will get better clarity. Let's continue the same code. See, we are just calling, let me just comment, just one sec. Okay, let me define this. This is your functions with your arguments, correct? Now I am using def here because we know we always use def to define a function. Now put the name of the function, that is your greet here, correct? Now we need to pass the value because I want to, let's say I want to don't want to say hello how are you, I want to say like hello with the username. Let's say hello Rohan, how are you doing, correct? So we can just put here def greet and the name as a my argument, correct? Now we are going to pass here print. Now I want to say, but I am also here using your f string that is called your formatted string. So that is the easiest way to concatenate variables with your strings, with your text. Let's say I want to say hello and I want to display my parameter, which is I already pass here, correct? Now hello and the name, and I want to say how are you doing, correct? So this is the code which I am going to write here. That's all for this as a function definition. Now we need to call it. Definitely we need to call it now to see the result. But see, if you do not pass this name here, you know what will be the output. Just take a pause, write down in the comment section what are you thinking. Okay, hope you write. Just one sec. So it will say you do not pass the required positional argument because when we define a function, so we put greet here and the value which we are going to pass while calling the function. But here we are not passing this value. So most of the you did like you did not define where you define this here, but you did not pass here. So you will get this error. So Python, if you run this code, Python function.py, you will get here. See, missing one require position argument because we did not pass it. So don't do this here. Just simply like here, this error for now. Now let's call it here. And I'm going to pass the name. Let's say Rohan. Let's say Noha. Let's call this. So we are getting hello Noha, how are you doing? But I want to take input from the user. So what I can do the best way, either I can put name equals to input enter your name. So first I will ask with the user what's your name, and then I will just call it, then I will greet in a better way. So let's call this by the name, correct? So Python function, I am writing again and again just Python, but don't need to reuse it. Use the up arrow key from your keyboard. Now press enter. So it say enter your name. Let's enter the name. Let's say enter the name John. Let's say hello John, how are you doing? See? So hope you understand how we are using functions, correct, with the argument. We can also pass the multiple argument as well. Let's say here I am going to just change into I'm also going to part name and their hobby. See, so I will say hello the name, hello Rohan, how are you doing? Just I can say also just did you like whatever their hobby is. That's all, which here I am going to ask the question. Okay, so remember here what I did here. Okay, while calling this I put the name, that is good, but either also because in my function definition I put one more parameter here, that is a hobby, so we need to pass that parameter while calling here. So we can put name and then the value. So just we can say hobby, but we did not define this hobby variable. So what I can do, I can just put the hobby equals to, and also I'm going to take from the user. So enter your hobby. correct? So user will enter their hobby, and then whatever the hobby of the user, it will display here, and it will ask a question. Just clear the terminal, run the code again, and see, enter your name. Let's say this time enter your name, like one of the, let's say this random, let's say Dustin. Enter their hobby. Let's say you're playing football. So it's say, hello Dustin, how are you doing? Did you like playing football? I know it's not making any sense, but yeah, this is how we can using a function with an argument. So let me clear one more time again. So this is a name and hobby, correct? Def name and hobby. So here mention what is this name and hobby. So name and hobbies are your, what is that? Parameter. Remember, don't confuse. And actually, when you pass the actual value, so here we pass the actual value, that is your of your name and hobby. Just one sec. So we called your function parameter, correct? Hope you understand what is function. So this is how we define a function. So whatever you feel, let's write down into the comment, and thank you for watching this video. Thank you.